The shuttle's hull shimmered as it pierced the iridescent atmosphere of Aurelian Prime. 3 suns hung over the capital world of the Galactic Confederation, bathing its crystalline towers in shifting hues of gold and cyan. The city floated above a silver ocean, held aloft by fields of magnetized gravity. It was a vision of alien perfection, sterile, flawless, and utterly indifferent. Captain Elias Kane adjusted the strap of his service rifle as the shuttle descended toward the council plaza. The rifle was old, metal and polymer, not the gleaming alloy the aliens preferred. He kept it polished, its mechanisms pristine. To him, it wasn't a weapon anymore. It was history. Humanity's place in this galaxy was new and fragile, and he carried his relic like a reminder of where they came from. The doors hissed open. Heat from the sun spilled inside, followed by the low hum of energy conduits pulsing beneath the white stone plaza. Towering figures from dozens of worlds turned to watch him step out. Transparent carapaces glinted, feathery appendages flickered, bioluminescent eyes blinked in perfect rhythm. Every gaze was a quiet accusation, primitive. Kane straightened his uniform and walked forward. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something floral, too clean to be real. Inside the council chamber, the room resembled a cathedral of glass and light. The ceiling was open to the stars, with shifting holographic constellations mapping the routes of trade and war. At the far end, the High Commander Varric Talion presided from a raised dais. His skin resembled living marble, shot through with veins of pale blue light. The Xenoth were famed for intellect and disdain in equal measure. "Captain Elias Kane of Earth," announced the synthetic voice of the chamber moderator. "Representative of the Terran Expeditionary Force." Kane stepped into the central ring. His reflection shimmered on the mirrored floor, one small human among giants. Varric's gaze flicked toward him, cold and precise. "The human contingent has arrived." "Excellent. Perhaps you can enlighten us with your tactical intuitions." A faint ripple of amusement passed through the assembly. Kane kept his voice even. "I'll contribute where I can, Commander." "Indeed," Varric replied, folding his hands. "Though I suspect your species' instinct-based warfare has little relevance to modern engagements." Murmurs followed, laughter in tones like wind chimes and static. Kane had heard worse in every debrief since joining the Confederation. He met the alien's gaze unblinking. "Instinct saved us long before algorithms learned to mimic it." Varric's expression tightened. "A romantic notion. One hopes romance is not your species' answer to mathematics." The chamber moderator interrupted before the tension sharpened further. "We will proceed." The crisis briefing. The holographic display ignited. A rotating image of Vega 9 filled the air, a storm-racked colony world on the outer rim. The projection zoomed toward a massive energy facility pulsing with unstable light. 6 hours ago," said the moderator, "a separatist force seized this gravitic research station. They threatened to trigger a gravity core detonation if demands are not met. Estimated yield, planetary." The chamber fell silent. Kane scanned the feed, distorted images of rebels and exocytes, distorted comms, unreadable data streams. He noticed something else the others didn't: erratic fluctuations in the thermal layers around the base. Atmospheric instability. The kind of noise only natural weather could produce. "Council peacekeeping forces are en route," Varric continued. "Autonomous strike drones and quantum-lock targeting systems will neutralize the insurgents with precision. A minimal engagement." Kane frowned. "You're relying entirely on machine targeting?" Varric's eyes glowed brighter. "Of course. Manual systems are obsolete. Those storms will distort field alignment," Kane said. "They'll scramble signal coherence. You'll be firing blind." A low hum of disapproval rippled through the chamber. The alien delegates exchanged glances. The human had spoken out of turn. Varric leaned forward. "Your caution is noted. But our systems are not bound by weather." Kane said nothing. He had seen that arrogance before. Different uniforms, same blindness. "Nonetheless," the moderator said, "the Terran representative will accompany the operation as an observer." The Council values cross-species cooperation. Varric's tone was like cold metal. An observer, yes. He will watch advanced warfare in action. The meeting ended. Kane left the chamber under 1,000 silent stares. Outside, the suns burned white on the horizon. He exhaled slowly, feeling the heat on his skin. Being underestimated had become his armor. Hours later, aboard the Council strike vessel Halion, the situation had worsened. Vega IX's storms had intensified. Holographic projections flickered across the command deck, ghosting through the haze of plasma interference. The alien officers moved with machine precision, issuing commands and clipped data streams. Kane stood at the back, helmet under one arm, watching. His old rifle hung from his shoulder like a relic among sleek pulse weapons. The mission commander, a tall avian tactician named Roten, approached him. "You doubt our success, human? I've seen too many systems fail when the environment stops playing by the rules," Kane said. Roten tilted his narrow head. "Our rules are universal. Nature doesn't care about universality," Kane replied. The alien made a dismissive clicking sound and returned to the consoles. Kane sat near the viewport, watching the blue sphere of Vega 9 swell ahead. Lightning crawled across its atmosphere like veins. He checked his weapon, calibrating by touch. The Terran Longshot was analog by design, its mechanisms impervious to electronic interference. It was obsolete by every standard but one, it always worked. He caught his reflection in the window. Tired eyes, short dark hair streaked with gray, a face hardened by years of low-gravity deployments. He thought of Earth's wars, dust storms, mountain passes, nights when silence was the only friend. Every battlefield had taught him the same truth: control is an illusion. The descent burned red through the upper atmosphere. The ship trembled under magnetic turbulence. Alarms flashed, briefly muted. "We are entering interference range," said Roten. "Deploying drones." Dozens of gleaming spheres shot from the vessel, dispersing through clouds of violet plasma. For a moment, they glowed like a constellation. Then their signals vanished one by one. "Telemetry lost," a technician reported. "Sensor blackout across all spectrums." Varric's voice cut through the static over comms. "Continue the operation." Kane rose. "You've lost visual and quantum lock. Pull back." "We proceed," Varric snapped. "The drones will recalibrate." "They won't," Kane said quietly. "That's a gravity core resonance storm. You're blind." The command deck fell silent. For the first time, the alien crew looked uncertain. "Captain Kane," Roten said, almost reluctantly, "if your assessment is correct, what would you suggest?" Kane studied the flickering hologram of the planet. Through the distortion, he could see the faint shimmer of the research base's shield array. He traced the wind vectors in his mind, calculating gravitational pull by instinct. "I'll go down there with your recon unit," he said. "If your machines can't see, maybe a pair of human eyes still can." Varric's reply came through cold and sharp. "You will observe only. Do not presume to lead." Kane smiled faintly, unseen. "Understood, Commander. I'll just watch closely." The ship shuddered as drop pods launched toward the raging storms below. Through the viewport, streaks of plasma trailed behind them like comets, falling into chaos. Kane secured his harness, feeling the weight settle in his bones. The storm outside roared with unseen gravity waves, tearing at the pod's hull. The aliens cursed over comms as readings failed. He closed his eyes and slowed his breathing. Instinct wasn't a weakness. It was survival. The drop pod screamed through the electric haze, a shell of ally cutting through violet storms. Inside, Captain Elias Kane held his breath and watched the readouts die one by one. The screens flickered, then dissolved into static. The alien soldiers around him shifted uneasily, their metallic suits trembling with microcurrents. They were used to certainty, perfect numbers, flawless systems. This storm had stripped them naked. The pod slammed into the surface of Vega 9, sinking half a meter into mud that glowed faintly from ion discharge. The hatch burst open with a hiss, letting in air that smelled of ash and iron. Jagged cliffs surrounded them, shrouded in a shimmer of distorted light. Gravity waves rolled through the landscape like invisible tides, bending the horizon itself. Kane stepped out, his boots sinking deep into the soft earth. The world felt wrong. Light curved where it shouldn't, sound came half a second late. The gravitic pulse from the stolen core was tearing at reality's seams. The alien commander, Roten, raised his visor, scanning the field. No telemetry, no visual confirmation. We've lost all link to orbit. Kane checked his analog compass. The needle trembled but didn't spin out. We're on our own, he said quietly. North by west should lead to the facility. If we move fast, we'll get eyes on the structure before the next surge. Your instruments rely on magnets, Roten said. They will fail. They haven't yet, Kane replied, starting uphill. The aliens hesitated, then followed. Their glowing armor threw pale light across the blackened terrain. Lightning flashed, painting the sky in fractured purple. The storm didn't sound like thunder, it groaned deep and low, as though the planet itself was straining. They reached higher ground where the view widened. Below lay the research base, a lattice of broken domes and collapsed pylons surrounded by a flickering shield. Inside, faint energy spikes marked the rebels' positions. Between the distortions, Kane could make out movement, humanoid shapes, their outlines bending like heat mirages. Roten's tone tightened. We cannot target them through this interference. Our weapons will scatter. Kane knelt and studied the terrain. The core chamber sat in the center, pulsing blue. Around it, generators formed a circular pattern, stabilizing the shield. One wrong hit, and the energy would implode. He exhaled slowly. You're right. You can't shoot through that. But I can. The aliens exchanged confused glances. Roten's feathers flickered with static. Your rifle is primitive. You would need a targeting computer to calculate trajectory under these distortions. Kane set down his pack and unlatched the Terran longshot, assembling it piece by piece. He placed it on the ground, a deliberate ritual: stock, barrel, scope, stabilizer. Each component clicked with mechanical precision. Computers calculate possibilities, he said, adjusting the scope manually. Humans calculate intentions. Roten stared. You're guessing. No, Kane replied, lying prone and sighting down the scope. I'm listening. Through the lens, the world looked like liquid glass. The crosshair bent and twisted with the storm. Kane adjusted instinctively, reading air density, watching how dust moved in the wind. Every vibration mattered. He'd spent half his life learning the language of physics, without machines to translate it. The alien soldiers stood back, murmuring in disbelief. They saw nothing but chaos. Kane saw patterns, tiny harmonies of motion, invisible to algorithms. He whispered to himself. 2 clicks west wind. 1 degree gravity shift, distance 6.8 kilometers, window 5 seconds. His breathing slowed. Roten leaned in. What exactly are you targeting? The stabilizer relay on the northern pylon, Kane said. It'll short the field without triggering the core. That's an impossible angle, Roten protested. Kane smirked faintly. Only if you trust your numbers. He waited. The storm pulsed again, bending light across the valley. The pulse rhythm was predictable, almost like a heartbeat. Between 2 waves there would be stillness, a moment so brief that even sensors missed it. That was his window. He pressed his cheek to the rifle and listened. The world narrowed to a single breath. His heartbeat slowed, aligning with the planet's pulse. A flash of light blinded the ridge. Kane didn't move. When the brightness faded, his finger tightened around the trigger. 1 shot. The rifle cracked like thunder, the recoil sharp and heavy. The projectile vanished into the haze. Seconds later, the far side of the valley erupted in a silent burst of blue flame. Then quiet. The gravitational shimmer around the base flickered, faltered, then stabilized. The shield collapsed without detonating the core. The rebels' signals scattered as their energy field died. Roten's sensors blinked back to life. Core containment steady, he said, astonished. You did it! Kane kept his eye on the scope until the data confirmed it. Target neutralized. Roten turned to him slowly. That defies every probability model. Kane began packing the rifle with practiced calm. You're still trying to model it. Minutes later, the alien strike force moved in. Kane led them through the fractured landscape, guiding by sight instead of scanners. The rebels had already fled, leaving broken weapons and smoldering equipment. The gravity core chamber hummed quietly in the center, stable but scarred. Varick's voice came over the comms, cold and restrained. Report. Threat neutralized, Roten answered. Minimal casualties. Human liaison's intervention prevented detonation. Static filled the line before Varick spoke again. Confirmed. Maintain position until extraction. He didn't say well done. Kane didn't expect him to. The alien troops began securing the site. Kane knelt beside a shattered control console, touching the blackened glass. Inside, he saw the reflection of his own face, drawn, tired but steady. The old rifle lay beside him, streaked with ash and faint heat. Roten approached quietly. Your method was not science. Kane looked up. It was understanding. Explain. You build systems to remove uncertainty, Kane said. We learn to live with it. That's what instinct is, it's experience compressed into action. Roten nodded slowly, eyes narrowing with respect. Perhaps our perfection made us blind. Maybe, Kane said. Or maybe you just forgot what it feels like to be wrong. Extraction came hours later. The storms had eased. The shuttle's engines roared above the broken valley, casting bright circles of light over the wreckage. Kane climbed aboard last, glancing once more at the horizon. The twin moons of Vega 9 were rising, pale against the swirling clouds. Inside the shuttle, alien officers sat in uneasy silence. No one mocked him now. Roten stood near the bulkhead, wings folded close. Your world breeds strange warriors, the alien said finally. Not strange, Kane replied. Just human. As they lifted off, the gravity field shimmered below, no longer deadly, just beautiful. The Council fleet would analyze the data for years, and still, no equation would explain how one shot had traveled through distorted space without error. But Kane knew the truth. It wasn't errorless. It was human. The difference was intention. Machines acted from input. He had acted from understanding. The comms flickered again. Varick's image appeared, expression blank, eyes unreadable. Captain Kane, he said, tone clipped. You will report to the Council immediately upon return. Kane nodded. Copy that, Commander. The image vanished. Roten glanced sideways. He sounds displeased. He's calculating how something illogical just saved his world, Kane said. The alien gave a thin smile. Then perhaps logic will have to evolve. Kane leaned back, closing his eyes as the stars blurred past. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt a quiet satisfaction. Not pride, just the calm certainty that somewhere, in a galaxy ruled by perfection, a single imperfection had made all the difference. The council chamber was silent when Captain Elias Kane entered. The vast amphitheater shimmered under artificial starlight, its crystal pillars humming faintly. Representatives from 100 worlds watched him walk to the center platform. His boots echoed, measured, deliberate, across the polished floor. He had faced combat zones, snipers, collapsing cities. None of that compared to this, standing before a room full of civilizations that had mocked his species since the day Earth joined the Confederation. High Commander Varick Talion presided again from the elevated dais, the same expression of disdain carved into his marble features. Captain Kane, he began, his voice metallic. You stand accused of violating mission protocols on Vega 9 by acting without Council authorization. Explain yourself. Kane met his gaze calmly. If I hadn't acted, Vega 9 wouldn't exist anymore. A ripple of murmurs swept the chamber. Varick lifted a hand. We are not here to debate outcomes. We are here to determine methods. Your so-called manual shot was reckless, unscientific, and impossible to replicate. Kane's tone remained steady. Then maybe that's the point. Meaning? Your systems failed because they tried to predict what can't be predicted, Kane said. The storm wasn't data, it was chaos. You can't outcalculate chaos. You can only feel it. Laughter rippled through one section of the chamber. A tall crystalline being clicked its joints mockingly. Feel it? You mean guess it, human? Kane didn't flinch. Call it what you want. My guess saved millions. A pause. Then a deep, resonant voice spoke from the opposite side of the hall, the Idari Chancellor, known for impartial logic. Let him speak. The result stands. Perhaps the method deserves examination. Varric's jaw flexed. Very well. Continue, Captain. Kane walked toward the holographic display. A projection of Vega 9 appeared, storm clouds twisting around the glowing research base. You rely on perfection, he said, pointing to the map. Perfect sensors. Perfect algorithms. But perfection cracks when conditions shift. Humans evolved in chaos. Our strength isn't precision, it's adaptation. We learn faster than your systems update. He looked up at the gathered species. You call us clumsy. Maybe we are. We drop things, missteps, make mistakes. But we learn from every one of them. That's how we survived our own planet before we ever touched the stars. Silence followed. Varric leaned forward. And you believe instinct outweighs intelligence? I believe instinct is intelligence, Kane replied. Just not the kind you can program. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the hollow feed replayed the moment of the shot. The bullet's impossible arc traced through gravitational waves before striking the exact relay point. The council murmured, some in disbelief, others in awe. Varric's voice was a low growl. One miracle does not redefine science. Then test it, Kane said. The room stilled. Test it? Varric repeated. Kane nodded. Set up your best simulation. No AIs, no computers. Just me and your finest tactical system. Same conditions. Let's see which performs better. A hum of excitement spread across the tiers. The proposal was bold, almost insolent. Varric hesitated. Refusing might look weak, accepting could risk humiliation. Finally, he said, So be it. At dawn, we conduct the trial. The next morning, the training arena floated above the Aurelian Sea, a transparent dome surrounded by glowing satellites. Dozens of council members gathered to witness. Kane stood on one platform, rifle slung across his back. Across from him, Varric's Pride, a sentient targeting array known as Theta 9, hovered in midair, its crystalline lenses spinning like eyes. The challenge was simple: strike a moving target half a kilometer away while artificial gravity distortions scrambled the field. Each would have one shot. Varric addressed the crowd. Observe the superiority of precision. Theta 9 scanned, adjusted, and fired a pulse of pure energy. It sliced through the air, missing the target by a margin so small that only the sensors detected it. Applause echoed anyway. Kane stepped forward. He adjusted his stance, feeling the subtle pull of shifting gravity. The target shimmered, a small sphere drifting unpredictably. He waited, breathing slow, heart sinking to the rhythm of the distortions. Then, almost casually, he fired. The bullet curved in a perfect arc, disappearing into the haze, then reappeared as the sphere shattered into light. The arena fell silent. Kane lowered the rifle. Guess I just got lucky, he said quietly. No one laughed this time. The Idari Chancellor rose. Probability registers near zero. Yet the human succeeded. Commander Varric, explanation? Varric said nothing. His jaw tightened, his eyes unreadable. Finally, he inclined his head slightly toward Kane. No explanation. It was the closest thing to respect he had ever given. Later that day, Kane stood once more in the council chamber, but the air was different now, no mockery, no smirks. The official report had spread across the Confederation. Human instinct outperformed machine logic. The Chancellor spoke first. The Council recognizes Captain Elias Kane of Earth for extraordinary service and contribution to interspecies defense. The hall echoed with acknowledgement tones from multiple species. Even Varric remained silent, his expression neutral but no longer contemptuous. Kane bowed slightly. Thank you, but this wasn't about me. It was about understanding what we all bring to the table. Humanity doesn't have the technology you do. But we adapt, improvise, and find solutions when systems fail. Maybe that's worth keeping around. The Chancellor nodded. Agreed. The Council will establish a new division, Hybrid Tactical Research, under shared command. You will oversee training across species lines. Kane blinked. You want me to teach intuition? Teach what cannot be coded, the Chancellor said simply. That night, Kane stood on the balcony of his assigned quarters overlooking the glowing sea. The triple suns were setting, painting the sky in ribbons of gold and violet. For the first time since leaving Earth, the view felt welcoming instead of alien. He rested the old rifle against the rail. It looked out of place amid the sleek architecture, yet somehow it belonged, like a relic reminding the future not to forget its past. Footsteps approached. He turned to see Varric, alone and unarmed. The alien's presence seemed heavier now, the arrogance gone. Captain, Varric said. Commander. A pause stretched between them. The alien looked out at the horizon. You were right about Vega 9. Our reliance on machines blinded us. Kane shrugged. They're tools. Nothing wrong with using them. Just don't let them do the thinking for you. Varric's crystalline skin reflected the fading light. You humans, you find order in chaos. It unsettles me. Kane smiled faintly. That's because chaos is where life happens. Varric gave a slow nod, the gesture almost human. Perhaps the Council has underestimated Earth. I will reconsider my stance. Kane extended his hand. After a moment, Varric accepted it. When the alien left, the chamber lights dimmed. Kane leaned against the railing, watching stars ignite across the dusk. He thought of home, mountain wind, cold rain, the smell of iron soil. Earth was small, fragile, imperfect. Yet it had produced something no algorithm could replicate. He whispered to the night, in a galaxy full of numbers, sometimes it takes a heartbeat to remind them what precision really means. The rifle gleamed under the starlight, silent and proud, a symbol of a species that refused to fit inside equations. The waves below shimmered, carrying the faint echo of his shot, the one that changed how the galaxy saw humankind. And for the first time, the stars seemed to listen.